So I'm going to pick it back up again. We're going to go, before we go into the second section, I want a couple of items in the first section that I want to kind of catch up on. On the turnaround here, this run here, you step back and you do that sweep. And again, that's like a lot like in that last run in the last closing section, where you do the run and then you do the sweep. So you have that same run with two different endings. And as we go through the set, there's a few other movements that are similar to that, where they have the same move, but it goes into a little bit different ending. So those two moves are related. And in that run here, you want to kind of like do as if you're running away from somebody, and then stop, and then you're moving backwards on that. Okay. And again, those moves are all linked together from the moment you go here, turn, step. You can hold that for a split second and then do the run into the sweep for the end of section one. A lot of people um, want to know the application for each of the moves. When you have enough martial arts experience, the application will become more clearer to you. Um, in a Dalu form, it's just a basic movement, and then the application comes off of that basic movement. And the purpose of the form is really to teach you foundation and movement rather than application as in technique. For me, when I was young, yes, I wanted to learn Kung Fu in order to defend myself. But now that I'm close to 80, the amount of times that I've actually had to use my Kung Fu for self-defense actually has become evident that was not the most critical element of my Kung Fu training. Being able to do the moves at 80, or close to 80, I'll be 79, is really the reward for all this training and practice. And so these days, I actually practice my Dalu, my fixed form, more for the enjoyment of being able to move. And also, my wife the other day saw the ravens that hang out on our ranch flying high in the sky. And she said, I wonder what it'd feel like to be that free and move like that. And I turned to her and I said, you know what? When I do my Shaolin, I feel like that bird in the sky. Because as you get older, into like the 70s, you see your friends and the people around you, you know, how that age starts to really affect them. And to be able to do these forms still with some vigor and bounce is a joy in itself. So really, I practice these forms now just for the enjoyment of movement. Um, that's not to say that the fundamentals, the foundation, the knowledge of application is not important, but it's not the most important thing to me. You know, it's when to interject that. And I know that a lot of times when I do these presentations, I just kind of speak off the cuff because I view teaching these presentations as a way to communicate my understanding and what I've learned over the years. And a lot of times, the thing that we're working on, for example, if I'm teaching you now the Kuo Lien Ying Shaolin, and then if you're like this, basically a Tai Chi um, practitioner, you kind of turn it off like it doesn't, there's no information for you here. But in reality, the information that I'm giving you, the little tidbits about how to train, how to look, how to like approach your practice, how to break it up into segments, applies to all Kung Fu. And if you are coming here and you do a totally different form, everything I'm teaching you in this particular lesson and these segments of lessons are going to benefit you too, because it's just a methodology of training. And I feel that that is important as actually the thing that we're teaching. The thing that we're teaching is the subject, but the methodology is the backbone of how to train. So, okay, so let's get back to getting into section 2. So in section 2, you're going to start from this movement here. As you come up here, you're going to go into the crane. So again, from here, this is all one move into the crane. And then do the circle, and this is as high as you can get to as low as you can get. Again, that move is going to be difficult for a lot of people, especially if you're getting older in age. But using the hand to kind of lift your foot, they're not connected, but almost imagine there's a string for your foot that goes with your hand that helps you lift high. And then you want to drop as low as you can comfortably into that falling or drop stance. Okay? So the rhythm again is from here to step forward. Also, one more tip. When you do here and you do this and you do the run, you want to be pretty far over on this side, because this whole second section is going to be moving this direction and then in that direction. So the further you are on this side over here of your workout space, the more freedom you'll have in doing this second section. Again, I'm presenting it kind of in the middle so you can see better rather than presenting it way over here. But as we start to do more of the second section, I'll have to start further over there. So again, from here, you want to step forward into the crane and then reach over. Think about grabbing a ball and flipping it over like that. And then unlock this hand, and then high as you can go with the leg in a crescent, and low as you can, and then pop right into the elbow block and the bow position. Okay, and so right here you can kind of pause before you do the run into the double so jump kick. Again, that movement comes off the 7th road of time play. Okay, so again from here it's going to be continuous right into the position here, up, down, right in, pop up into the block. Okay, so from here you're going to kind of step and kick as high as you can right into the double jump kick and punch out, all one flow of sequence of movements. And you can pause here. So again, from here, flow into position, high, low, elbow block. Then jump forward into the horse and punch. So from here, slight pause, high, could do that slow. Slow is more dramatic rather than fast, like a crescent kick here, and then low. And then in that low, I like to kind of pause for a split second before I pop up. And then here, go into the double jump. So that's going to be the flow of this pattern of movement. Once you get to the horse, You hit the elbow, and then you're going to jump into the crane and the fist position, horse, bow and arrow. Now, those are all going to be linked together from the moment you do here, 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 and this will be the end. Position, you can stop in this position here and then go into the bow and arrow as well. But I like to do from here all the sequence of movements to here. Okay. Again, we're going in a line here and then a line in this diagonal here. So let's put that all together from here. Step up into the crane. High, low, elbow block. Run forward. Horse. Elbow block. Jump. Here. And then from here, the low position down and run forward are all one sequence, okay? Again, I need to start further over so that I won't be out of the picture there. Okay, so when you do your run, you're going to want to be right about here in your workout space. Kind of the line is like right here, so here, come up. You notice that when I jump, I can jump a little bit further over, so now I have more space to do that run. And in this space, I only have room for 2 strikes before I go down. Okay, so again from here, drop down. Now when I drop down, because I'm in a horse here, that's really not enough just to drop down into the drop stance. So what I need to do here is really scoot this foot out so I can get lower into the drop stance. Again, how low you can go is going to be dependent upon your flexibility and agility, but it's going to be dependent on your stance work as well. So from the bow and arrow stance here, for me, I could drop forward or I could drop back. And then from here, when I shoot forward, here, when I go into the last drop stance, I like to kind of pause so that I can kind of have that movement, which is a lot like line 10, right? In line 10, goes like that. So from here, even though it's not exactly the same movement, I like to have that same feeling as the 10th road in Tantway. So that once you go from the bow and arrow stance to the run into the drop down, that's all going to be continuous and with the flow. So, so again, from the bow and arrow stance, drop down forward or back, doesn't matter. 1, 2, and then relax on the beak hands. Like to swing, swing. here. So again, this is a pretty energetic segment, the second section. And what I've been finding, going back to the original discussion about looseness, is that the looser I am and more relaxed, the more stamina I have. If you try to force everything, you're using up that stamina that you have to do the movements. And as I described it to someone one time about doing the form, imagine that your stamina, conditioning that you're in, and your agility and everything is the amount of change that you have to spend. And as you're doing the form, you're kind of spending that stamina like change. And you want to like conserve that expenditure for where you need to put it. And by being more relaxed, you're not spending the money as fast as if you are kind of pushing everything and having to throw out faster. So I've been finding that the more relaxed and loose I get, the less winded I am. And here I am doing this fairly difficult section for somebody my age, and also being able to talk and teach at the same time that I'm doing it is pretty good. So again, this whole idea of relaxation is pretty becoming more evident in the practice. Okay, so let's take the section all the way up to that where we want to end. Okay, so from here right into the crane, flip, high, low, elbow block, double jump kick, horse, elbow block. Good. So here you can pause, okay, and this is a good time to talk about the reason, another reason why to practice, do your practice in sections and little bits and pieces is that you become more familiar with the individual moves when you're working in bits and pieces. It forces you to really know the form well enough so you could break it up and just work on the thing that you want to work on. The traditional method of learning is to start from the first move and go all the way through the set to where you finish the last lesson that you had. And again, as I keep saying over and over, the problem with that is that by the time you get to the end, both you're tired and you're only practicing that new move a few times because you got to get through all that stuff that you already learned. Well, you already learned all that stuff, so you could dissect what you're good at and just work on the things that is hard for you. Also, if you always start your set from the beginning and do it to the end, when you get to the end, because you're tired, more tired, you're practicing those movements while you're like not the freshest, not the most tired. If the last move is the hardest move, and it will be in this section, you need to practice that when you're fresh, not when you're tired. And that's one of my rules is to practice uh, both for my stamina and my agility. But if I get tired, I stop practicing because I don't want to practice the movements in a kind of in Cantonese learn, which is a word I learned. It's like chaotic or kind of like lapsadaisical. You don't want to practice it when you're like tired and kind of stumbling. So that's the worst time that you can practice. A lot of people, they like to push through, but that's not the time to push through. Okay. Okay, so we got to that section of where we're in here. Okay. So now we got the last part of the second section to complete. From here, the run into this is all one continuous train of movements. Okay. From here, And then again, I like to put a little bit of oomph in that run. So I kind of like to lift up. Again, that's utilizing the concept of using off balance to generate forward movement. So when I get to here, I'm pretty well balanced. I kind of start to lean forward, lift my foot here. And again, this is like grabbing somebody's fist and wrenching it over. So it's like that. Okay. I like this, again, we're talking about function. I don't really think about the technique as much as just kind of the feeling of what I want to do. Okay. So from here, reach forward, 1, 2, shoot out. Then we got to do the into the kick and into the turn. So each time that I stop at a certain point, um, I use the idea of visualization for kind of pre-thinking out the series of movements. And that's why I like breaking it up into segments, because each segment that I do, I already know what that feels like, and then get them back to here, and I already know what that's going to feel like. And then from here, when I'm in this position here, I already know what that's going to feel like. And so I project that into my body. If you ever watch the Olympics and the guy's getting ready to do the high bar routine, you can see him kind of thinking it through. You can kind of like, he knows what every move is going to feel like. And that's, again, when you practice your fixed form, your Dalu, those little spots that we're stopping at, and section 1, section 2, you practice that section 2 till it's perfect. And then section 1 and section 2 together, and then you go to section 3. You could do section 3, section 1, section 2, doesn't matter. Each own section, you remember what that perfect movement feels like. And so your body is already ready to feel that. And that kind of enables you to do it without so much thinking, but you're already kind of into tune into that movement. Okay. So again, as we're here, I already know what that feels like. And then from here, to walk into the kick, turn, and into the cat. That's all one series of movements. You can turn, hold, and drop in the cat. But that turn from the kick into that crane is a very, very difficult move for both in terms of the spin and the balance. So dropping from the kick, if you don't have the balance right, you can drop right into that cat stance and kind of save your technique. Okay. So again, from this position here, okay, and you want to be as far in that corner as you can for this last series of movements. 1, 2, 3, like that. And this will be the end of the second section. So you actually have 2 series of movements that we're doing in this last segment of the second segment. First series of movement is that, and the second one is the kick, like that. Okay, starting to sprinkle. So this will be a good time. I think that's enough information to put into this portion of the video. Thank you.